This is an interview with Rasunah Marsden. She is a longtime Subud member, helper, writer, and currently serving as a Subud education uh, chairperson. Is that correct?
Yep, yep.
So, Rasunah, can you start by telling us how you found and came into Subud?
Okay, I was living in Winnipeg in Manitoba, um, and during the hippie days, flower power days. And there was a friend who used to go traveling around, and he went down to Ottawa and came back again, but he knew I liked just reading things. So he dropped some books into my lap that he had found them in a trash can. So so actually, and one of the one book fell open in my lap with the other magazines, and that was this book.
Can you show it to it's
Is
hard to
it
see
close?
what it is.
Is it close enough?
Uh, no, the background thing is interfering with the look of the book.
How about this? Is that better?
Okay, yeah, it's a Native American symbol of some sort.
Yeah, they used Native American symbols in the in the articles. But in any case, what I was saying is this is a Subud Courier that was published by the National Committee
Hmm.
of Canada at the time, Subud Canada. And when it opened on my lap, I was sitting on the floor. It opened on my lap. There was an article about cooking for bapak in the book, right? I don't know if you can see that.
No, can't see it.
That can you see that?
No, everything went blank. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
It's
All
just
right.
the problem with using this kind of backgrounds.
Right, right. Okay, so there was an article about cooking for bapak by a Subud member in Vancouver, and I was really fascinated by what she had to say about Bapa's family members and Ibu Subu at the time.
Hmm.
So I eventually traveled to Ottawa and then got some information about Subud, and I was opened May in September 1969. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think I moved to Vancouver around 1971 and then, became a chairperson and so on. And so I was traveling a bit more when Buffa was going to different groups and met him in Vancouver as well. The first time I actually met Buffa was in 1970 in Toronto. I think there was some kind of World Congress or something, or a talk that he was giving in Toronto. So that's the first time I actually met him. It was about a year after I opened. I was open, and then following that, there was a World Congress 1971 where there were a lot of members from around the world who went to Jakarta and was Masubit for those meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a picture of you from that 1971 Congress.
yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
what did you have any kind of experiences there at the Congress that we're talking about?
I there are quite a few actually, and um, I there I some of these kinds of experiences are personal to each person who receives them, so it's really not that useful for other people
Sure.
to
Yeah.
to mention it. But uh, I did manage to have a nervous breakdown at the World Congress, and many experiences that were part of that. and met Dr. Mitchell and a number of other doctors while I was there. So yeah, it was very interesting. And I spent a lot of time with Halima Brugger at her place, crying mostly.
Mhm.
It was kind of an early experiences in Subud, which involved, a lot of purification. So um, that was one of the experiences that happened there, right? And we also visited Ibu Subu's grave at that time in that Congress. So that in Jakarta, so that was interesting as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, how was it? How was your Latihan when you were first opened? Did you experience anything that
Yeah,
stands out?
yeah, I did. And it's probably not a good idea to explain everything, but so various things about religions. As I was raised a Roman Catholic, so I came to some terms with that because I had some experiences in Latihan where I saw the chalice or a chalice passing before me,
Hmm.
and then other experiences later having to do with Islam. Um, and I'll give you an example. I had a dream that I saw this beautiful kiosk with these beautiful Indonesian women inside the kiosk. And this was on this mountain where I was taking my undergraduate course. So, and my name was written in magenta across the glass area of the kiosk. So I got curious. I I went to the kiosk, and I asked the ladies who were in there. I said, "Why is my name written on this kiosk?" And she said, we're signing up people for a pilot course in Islam." And
Of
that was
course,
the
in
dream.
Islam. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the other experience that I had in the 1971 Congress, now this dream followed that, but in the 1971 Congress, Buffett had a Wyang, and it was called The Birth of Bhima.
Yeah.
And it was a very long evening. It was like I couldn't stay awake. I was on the mats watching the performance. And then when I fell asleep, do you know how those sparklers look? The sparklers that you
Yeah.
light yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I fell asleep, and the gamelan banging around woke me up when at 4 a.m. when the Wyang performance was almost finished. But what I had seen while I was sleeping was it's like a burning into the air, something, a prayer burned into the air, but it was burning from right to left, each line, right?
Mhm.
And that still didn't make that much sense to me.
Yeah.
But in fact, it didn't make sense until I got a Quran from somewhere. This was after that dream, maybe about 4 years later, and saw the Al Fatiha, which was the prayer that I had seen written into the air, burnt
Wow.
into the air, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I mean. I might have experiences like those, about religion and so on earlier, in my earlier years, I'd say, probably the first 10 years or something of doing Latihan. But I don't have an explanation for that, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Just
I just came to the conclusion that the Islamic religion, or not even, I don't even know if I'd call it a religion, but in my inner self is predisposed, right,
Mm-hmm.
to an Islamic kind of understanding. And I couldn't even say that in terms of practice because I don't do 5 prayers a day or anything like that, right?
So did you ever become officially a Muslim?
Yes, I did. I did. Following probably around 75. Yeah, right. But I couldn't keep up the practice.
So you,
The only place that practice comes into play is in Latihan,
yeah.
right? Sometimes the prayers will come through the Latihan, like people say prayers in their Latihan, so
Hmm.
that occurs.
Yeah.
So that's all I could say about that. I'm not outwardly religious. In
Not
other words,
outwardly religious.
no, no, but I don't mind going to masses or ceremonies or anything like that if there's an occasion for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you happen to get involved in your current job as Subud Education?
Yeah, Civil Education Association. God, it's hard to say. I just came to the conclusion somewhere along the line that there needed to be a connection between the Subud instructors and teachers and those who are involved in schools. And I spoke to Harris Roberts after that and told him I was thinking about starting a Subud Education Association. And this was after Ramadan in 2019, which was the last time I went to Jakarta. And and then I did. I started it, and there's a great team there of members internationally, including Hadrian Pollard, Garrett Thompson, Harris Roberts, Halima Polk,
Mhm.
Salama Dick Leclerc, and Pasha Agos, who's down in Florida, as a prof. So that group has been formed, which makes a connection to Subud educators
Yeah.
that are part of the membership, and the membership is about 300, and we offer monthly newsletters, and workshops on educational kind of practices, or
Hmm.
those kind of things. We have to learn how to attract funds to service needs of Subud members or their children who want education, who want to continue their education and maybe don't have the funds at that time, and so on. And also to act as a consulting capacity to schools and other educational projects, right?
Hmm. So is that your background in education?
Yeah, I have a doctorate in education, and a few other degrees before that, in postgraduate diploma of design, and undergraduate in comparative literature, world literature, and got a master's in something, but it won't matter. Yeah, master's in education.
So did you have any um, background in? Are you partly Native American? Did I?
Yes, I'm native. I'm native on my father's side.
Hmm.
His ancestry, he was a Ojibwe, or they call it Anishinaabe, uh, Indian from Ontario. So the reason I was raised in Manitoba was because he joined the army when he was young, for the Second World War. So his family was raised in a military camp.
Hmm.
of which I am the firstborn.
So did you you were not part of the the
The
stolen
aim,
people?
so not part of the stolen. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. No, I'm not part of the stolen people, but I've had children stolen from me.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, I won't get into that right now. You'll have to ask me that as a separate issue. But yes, my father was taken to Indian residential school before he stayed there for grade 8, and they didn't have anything beyond grade 8. Uh, so he was kept there for 4 years and taught some mathematics to other students and so on until grade 8, until grade 12. He came back to his reservation, which was the Rama Reserve in Ontario, before he joined the war.
Hmm.
So he was part of that residential school training that
Hmm.
was happening. And you know, I'm aware of all of the abuses and the abuse suffered by Native peoples. Um, and he said, he told me that mostly what affected him the most about being in a residential school was starvation. So the children were on a very close, starvation level, living in the residential school. Now this was in it's called Spanish residential school in near Sudbury, and they grew gardens and everything else. They had a lot of chores for the priests that ran the school. So that was one of the things that happened to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes for a different kind of you know, character or even purification as a result of being part of the line of residential school survivors as a
Yeah.
first generation in relation to my father, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very difficult thing to have to go through.
Yeah, I'm sure it was for him. But I mean, at the time, Native people could not support themselves, having being, relegated to reserves. They couldn't, find food that easily. They didn't grow gardens, and yeah. So they weren't permitted to go off reserve without permission from the government, the local government. So it was like a very, very strict. And also my father said they didn't have medical care, none
Uh,
of that. So this was from forward from the see, he was in the war, he was in the Second World War, so it would be when he was young. He was born in 1925. So it would be, following from the age of something like grade 8, 10 years, 12 years, or how old he be 13. So 25, 35, 38, 1938 forward,
yeah.
that these kind of conditions were common for Native people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my other side is French. French mother, French ancestry.
Say that one more time. I didn't get the last thing.
My other ancestry is French.
Oh, French.
Yeah.
Oh,
French mother, French ancestry going back to France and so on.
oh,
They first settled in Louisiana and moved up the Mississippi, and then eventually reached Montreal during the 1930s, I think it was.
was that any of the Cajun people?
They would have been, yeah, they would have been involved where they were in Louisiana and other places that they lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting background, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Very, yeah, very interesting.
So how would you evaluate your experience of being in Subud for all these years?
Wow. Yeah, yeah. How can you can't really evaluate it. It's a work in process, isn't it? And you know, each person or each person's spiritual development is a work in process. Some slow, some, you know, very quickly and so on. So, and it doesn't matter having been opened or at this age, following my inner guidance is, you know, a priority. If I'm able to decipher what that is, right? So it's not always clear, but it's just the feeling that you are protected, are guided, and feel lighter as the years go. That and have you know something that convinces you that the Latihan is helpful to the people who do receive it. You can't do better than that. I mean, I don't think. Yeah, yeah,
So positive experience.
yeah. A positive experience. Not particularly easy, but positive overall, right? So you have the sensation that things are being inwardly clarified, you know, for you as you go along, and you have an understanding of what your experience is or has been. So yeah, positive. That's positive,
Mhm.
right?
So I guess you would recommend it to other people then, huh?
Sure, sure, sure. But you know, there are some people who've had more difficult experiences, and
Yeah.
I think also that in the earlier years, like the '60s, a lot of people, you know, who were opened did get into crisis. They did, you know, they did have heavy purification. They did feel like they were suffering, right? So that can be part of that experience, which is kind of, you know,
Yeah.
you
Do,
can't complain.
do you feel like you were in crisis at some point?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I have no doubt about it.
What what can you say about that crisis experience?
Um, it's like I say, you can't. It's maybe in some way it's throwing off of things that you don't need, that you know that you feel a period of intense suffering. So the crisis itself might be what, 1 or 2 months or something like that. So you feel that, and and you may not understand it at the time. You may put, you know, may be able to understand it later, but it does feel like, you know, there are things that are leaving you that, you know, in the end make you feel lighter. But
Yeah.
there are other kinds of crisis. Like I did have one crisis which was um everything was perfect. Everything was perfect for about a month. It's like every breath I took was perfect. It's like everything that happened was perfect. It's like I can't explain that either. But it just occurred. I don't even know if it was a month long or whatever, 2 weeks maybe. But just that yeah, sensation that everything was perfect, how everything was perfect, was, you know, priceless.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, yeah. So why would it not be something like that? Why would you not be able to experience something like that? But it was an intense feeling and a very blissful, you know, couple of weeks or 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
it was
why that? I don't know. I don't know.
like maybe being part of a spiritual experience for a while and then going back.
Yeah, or feeling very well. And during the time I didn't really want to talk to people that much because I didn't want to commiserate about anything. So
Yeah,
it was very, you know, could be tricky. Yeah, a while back.
yeah.
That would be in the 80s, right?
So would you say that it's something that you felt you really needed to experience?
Who knows? It was kind of a pleasant experience
Hmm.
in some respects. It's like I said, I didn't feel like I should talk about problems or anything. Like I just gravitated away from any conversation of that sort at the time.
Huh.
So yeah. So either is it some kind of me? I have no idea. I don't know why. I just wasn't became aware that things could feel very wonderful and so on.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and the other types of crisis would have more to do with intense suffering. I don't know what other people, do you have any examples of crisis that other people experience that are similar, that they involve suffering? That's what I'm asking you.
Well, I think most people who've had crises
Yeah,
really, I think they felt it was a beneficial thing for their development,
right, 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 right. Okay.
but sometimes it's hard to be around people in that state. So
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Or to be helpful, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Um, I actually don't have any more questions, but if you have anything else you'd like to talk about, it's fine.
Yeah. The only thing I've been thinking about lately is how things work if people are willing to work together. And I think that's something, you know, that's good for Subud practitioners, is that they find ways to be able to connect and work together, right?
In the
I
education thing you're talking about?
Education or enterprises, business, or
Yeah.
uh yeah, it kind of projects that you can work on together, not necessarily for profit, but for, that is in line with your background, obviously,
Hmm.
you know? Yeah. So it just becomes more obvious to me that unless you can find ways to work together,
Hmm.
nothing, you can't accomplish that much. You can't assist other people that well, you know? Yeah, even just putting together a great magazine requires a number of people. Stupid Voice, for example, you know,
Yeah.
any enterprise that gets off the ground and succeeds and continues, whether it's for translation services or for, that we have in Subud,
Mhm.
you have to be able to work together with other people. But I mean, I think that's useful. It's useful to
Yeah.
find ways to work together. And that would be it. That would be what I'd recommend.
So are you saying that the Subud, being in Subud helps in that respect?
Yeah, I think you can reap the benefit, or have a feeling of the value of working together as people who have the Latte hand in common. Yeah, no
Yeah.
question. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like because of COVID, we have very few meetings of any size.
Hmm.
So as soon as you're able to go back to larger meetings, you do notice the difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that in meetings that I've been in recently, they're much more harmonious
That's good.
than in the
Good.
past. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're making progress.
Yeah, yeah. And why not? Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear of these things. Right. Okay.
Well, I have no more questions.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, finding an opportunity to work together, whether it's building houses or anything like that, doing a newspaper, whatever it is, through as Subud members who benefit from what they receive in Latihan is a nice thing, very nice thing,
Yeah.
and I recommend it. And that's about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for talking with me. I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. Let me know where this goes after this. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'll connect you with how the rest of it goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to
Bye
end
for
the
now. Thanks for
recording.
calling. Yep.
Let's see.
Are you stopping the recording?